Hey everybody, it's Brad Kilgore here with America's Best Shops, and I'm here with my good friend Laura Southerly. Always a pleasure to see you, Laura. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thank you again for having me today. I enjoy visiting with you about AI because it's moving fast.
That's right. That's right. Well, Laura is enjoying warm weather in Ohio, as I've heard, and I am in Denver today, not up in my mountain home, and it is blowing sideways snow. But my gosh, we need it. So we're pretty glad we got snow. I'm just not looking forward to going out in it. So,
Blame
uh,
you.
yeah. So, with all that being said, we like to explore different subjects, different ideas, different strategies when it comes to AI marketing for your shops and your business. And I think today is just going to be a little bit of a jam session and just talk about, in my opinion, the state of the industry. Literally, it changes so fast. I mean, I know there's new versions of ChatGPT. There's new versions of Google Gemini and Notebook. I mean, Claude. I mean, Claude Code. The list is long of what's happening out there. I heard something just last night about cinematic videos coming into your Google Gemini ecosphere. Of course, it costs you, but it's an exciting time. But I think a lot of businesses, this is based on my real life experience, a lot of businesses have not adopted AI because they don't know what to do. They are overwhelmed by it. They see it all over the place. It's now in everything you could possibly imagine, from eBay to Amazon to YouTube to Walmart. Wherever you go, I think there's AI drive-throughs if you get fast food. I don't really eat fast food, but I think a robot might be talking to you at the drive-through, right? So it's everywhere. But literally this past week, I was at an agency event. Obviously own an online marketing agency, and I was around a lot of very, very powerful, smart, successful agency owners, right? And in a few weeks previous, it was shop owners. But I mean, so many of them are like, Brad, what are you doing with AI? Because I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start, right? And so don't feel like you're alone. So many of them, I would say in the last week with the agency owners, I would say 80% of them were overwhelmed. They didn't know what to do yet. They literally did not know what to do yet. And I would say when it comes to, repair shop owners or just small, medium businesses in general, I'd say maybe 10%, maybe 15% are adopting it. And they're really predicting that that's going to change as we go into the second quarter of 2026 and what's going to happen this year. We truly don't know. But a lot of us have taken this by storm and said, you know what, I'm going to do everything I can to stay on the cutting edge of what's happening in AI and how I can leverage that for marketing, how I can manage that in my personal life, how I can manage that to help my clients, all these things. But I'm also here to tell you, I may be a very techie person. Laura's a techie person. And even for us, we're like, oh my gosh, how do you keep up with all this? Would you agree?
I would agree. And it's more of what is the shiny object and which one would move you forward. So I know we used the example a few weeks ago about cars, and there's a lot of different brand name cars out there. So it doesn't matter as to what you most like. But if we look at the engine, the wheels, the steering wheel, there's going to be some components that is consistent with any vehicle that you get in. I know some of them are changing these days, but if we think of just knowing the basics and not being afraid of it, that helps. But to your point, Brad, it's moving fast, and we're trying. That's one reason why we get on and do these jam sessions, is to say, okay, this is what to keep your eye on versus jumping from one to another all the time, because that's when it gets a little chaotic.
That's exactly right. And that's what I'd like to emphasize today is if you haven't started and you don't know what to do, there's a couple of choices. I think I brought up this analogy before is I've known some very, very successful shop owners that were so good at what they did and had 30, 40, 50 years of experience when it came to working on cars, body work, custom work, whatever it is. They're so good at what they've done. And it's just mind boggling how good they are at that. But when it comes to technology, when it comes to computers, when it comes to smartphones, and then you throw AI in the mix, they're like, oh my gosh, there's no way that they feel that they could ever do it on their own. Doesn't mean they can't, but I've seen it. I've worked with people. One of my good friends, I'm actually at his house right now. Been friends for 25 years. He retired a couple years ago from a super super successful auto body shop, one of the very best in the Denver, Colorado area. And I call him the 1G man in a 5G world, and he will say it because he knows that that is true you know and it's so true for so many people. I mean, the flip side of that is, if you said, hey Brad, can you go out there and fix the door, and go ahead and fix the bumper, and why don't you go ahead and give my car a tune up, I'd look at you like you were an alien, because I don't know how to do that, right? That's not
Oh,
my
you
superpower.
say that, but now we know that we could just point ChatGPT at it and ask for at least some instructions. But no, I'm with you on that. It can be overwhelming.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like, and so my point is if you feel like, hey, I'm never going to be techie, I don't even know where the button is to turn on my laptop, or whatever it is, find somebody, talk to us, I'll be glad to help you when it comes to that type of thing. But I think that a lot of people, and maybe it's the younger generation, I'm the last year of the baby boomers, so I'm definitely not the younger generation, but I think a lot of business owners, as they get older, they may need somebody on their team to do some of these things. So I say get started now. Don't get overwhelmed, like Laura said, with all the shiny objects, because I can tell you there is a lot of crazy stuff going on in the AI world. But right now, if you just say, hey, I want to learn how to do some of the basics, I would say start with ChatGPT, start with Gemini, start with Grok, start with some of the basics that you can do for free or next to nothing, and try it out a little bit. See what they do. Go to YouTube and look at some basic training, or look at some of our trainings about how these tools work, because that's how you're going to learn, is by testing it out. Um, what are your thoughts on that, Laura?
I know when they start playing, that's when you get excited. A few weeks ago, when I had the opportunity to present, there was a young lady that was in the audience, and actually she was a grandmother, and that how she started with AI was she wrote a poem to her grandchildren and did kind of a scavenger hunt. So she was tickled to death as to how it incorporated their names. But again, it gave a playful way to start using AI. I think that is a great way to do it, is find something creative, and you can start that way. So you don't have to feel that you have to change something major in your business for the first time you're out. You do, I mean, we think about when we first got our computers, we did the basics with it. And now I think if they would tell us that we had to go back with one screen and one task and close that out, I don't know how many of us would be able to do that, because we're so used to having multiple screens, multiple things happening at once.
That's right. That's right. I would agree with that. I don't think I could cope with that. Uh, so, I mean, I think, like I say, the ChatGPT is probably the most common one. So, if that's something you want to try, do that one. I like Gemini because it's baked right into Google, it's baked right into Chrome. These are tools we've been using for a long time. If you have a free Gmail account, you have access to go to gemini.google.com. If you have a Google Workspace account, which is where it's your business account, again, gemini.google.com. Go to these places, and just start talking to it. Put in some information, and test it out. Whether that's about specifics about a vehicle, because it's amazing what kind of data you can get these days when you're asking about, hey, you know what is the warranty on such and such? What is the oil filter for such and such? What is the compliance, OSHA compliance in my area for such and such? I mean, it's all right there. Certainly, you could go to Google and try to figure it out, but I think especially Gemini can really fast track you, start doing some basic things like that. Ask it some generic or general questions. You're not going to break anything at this point because you haven't really connected it to anything. We're not
Correct.
talking about building a whole agentic system that runs your whole show, because we can do that too. But don't worry about that yet. Think about, how do I get started?
That's a very good point. I like the way you mentioned different ways that they can get started. And, I know your listeners and the viewers they most likely have their phone already picked up and going to download the app so it's on their phone that they can go ahead and click. The other thing, too, that I know both you and I really like is the fact that we could speak into it. So if it's something that you're not quite sure about, it's great to have that conversation, talking it out, especially I find that very useful if I'm folding laundry or doing another task where my hands are busy. I can just have that conversation and talk through what I might be thinking about. And it's great to be able to view it not only on my phone, but then when I come back to my desktop or laptop, I'm able to see that same conversation continued.
That's exactly right. I think that's where it's all headed anyway. It's all everything's going to be run by voice. So much of it is now. We talk to our cars, we talk to our houses, we talk to our computers. It's like, I think that typing, just kind of like writing. I don't When I try to write a check or I write something, it's like, oh wow, I'm out of practice. I think that typing is going to continue going down that road, and it's strange. We're used to being able to write with a pen and paper, and a lot of people still do. We're used to typing and getting better at that. I still know people that, again, I'm not a very good typer. My wife looks at me and goes, "What the hell are you doing? You're hunting and pecking." I mean, I've got it down. I can type fast enough, but I certainly am not. Not. She's got this whole thing with her hands, and I'm pretty sure I learned it in eighth grade in my typing class. But guess what? I did not retain it. So I do not have the hand thing where they're supposed to be, but I can get through the keyboard. But I think it's all going away. You know.
Yes. Well, and our thought processes are completely different if we're able to talk it out because AI doesn't mind if we change our train of thought in the mid sentence, if we are throwing some ums and hesitations in there, and we can just let the words flow. AI will hear it and then it will decipher what we were trying to say, and therefore the conversation can continue. You can even put it in voice mode where it will talk back to you, meaning it'll give its answers back to you. So it's not as though you have to say it, send it, read it. You're just having that conversation back and forth.
Yeah, think of it that way. You're literally having a conversation with an automated assistant. And that's the basics of it.
Yes.
From there, I mean, we could do so many other things where we simplify, we systematize, we organize, we automate systems within your business, in your shop, through AI tools. And a lot of times, that type of thing, quite honestly, most of the time, you're going to want to reach out to someone like myself or somebody who knows what they're doing. If you're working with someone like Laura in her space, reach out to somebody that already knows how to do that. Because again, if somebody said, "Hey, could you get this whole shop organized and get these cars ready to go through the paint booth?" Blah, blah, I'm like, no. Why would I do that? I'm going to call the guy. I'm going to call somebody who's an expert.
Right, right.
So it's crazy. And like I say, so many things are evolving. AI is not taking a break. It is not taking a long weekend. It is not slowing down. It is here to stay. And whether you like it or not, if you choose to just ignore it and not adapt to it and start utilizing it the best you can, or find a rock star to help you do it, then you will be left behind. And that's the sad truth. I don't mean your business is going to go away tomorrow, but if you just think about it, what if 25 plus years ago you said, you know what, I'm never going to buy a computer. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. I'm not going to do that. Well, where would you be now? Everything's on there.
Right. And I think AI allows us to dream again, where it used to be daunting to be thinking, okay, say that you had a vehicle come in, there was work being done, and then you were like, okay, we should really be keeping the owner updated as to the progress, especially if it's a build or something in restoration that you know that you're going to have that vehicle for a while. Wouldn't it be kind of nice to kind of keep them updated? And you may find that difficult to keep up with the schedule to give that feedback. Just think if you're able to talk that out through AI, it will give you suggestions as to how to do that more in a seamless manner. So there might be elements of the business that you say, wow, I really wish this could happen. Talk it out with AI and see what the possibilities are.
I love that, where it gives us the ability to dream about what's possible, to not just use our imagination, but the infinite imagination of a machine, you know?
And
Uh,
I will state, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but as you're saying, for people to get started, if anybody listening feels that you're not techie, that you would not really enjoy this, sometimes that is your superpower. You don't have any previous knowledge of what the limitations are, so you can dream bigger than some of us that are working or have worked in basically a box all our lives. So if you do not know the ins and outs, just think of what you're able to ask. And AI will say, hey, this is the way to do it, versus us might, you know, toss it off to a side if we are like, well, we were never able to do that before. We may be a moment or two of asking that.
I love that. I love that. Well, I think we covered a lot of good stuff. I get fired up about just being able to share ideas and help other people, because
Absolutely.
we all have superpowers and we all have shortcomings. And
Yeah, and Brad, you didn't brag that you were actually pulled up on stage at that event because of your knowledge in this field. Here you are, like you said, you are with very successful business owners, and yet you were able to provide many tips that they were able to run with when they got back to their own businesses. So, congratulations to you for being recognized. And that's one reason why your listeners should subscribe to your channel, because they can get your wisdom every week.
thank you so much. It was truly an honor. And, sometimes it can be daunting to be in front of 100 and some people and share some ideas. But again, it just goes back to I was able to help them. They came up after me like, oh my gosh, you really laid it out. You made it simple. You made it easy for me to understand. I had no idea that that's how you could do it. And so that's why we do this. That's why
Yes.
Laura and I get on our shows is we want to help people. We want to change lives, and I'm really super stoked to be here. So thanks for bringing that up. I truly am.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. So we'll wrap up for today. Like always, subscribe, share, tell your friends about us. America's Best Shops. We show up as often as we can, give you the goods, and then we go from there. So everybody have a great weekend.